We all see celebrities and athletes out there endorsing everything from Live Aid in 1985 to anything that dealt with Ethiopia during the 80s. We all remember that. We remember the AIDS marches and the quilts. And we see all the celebrities get behind everything, including Black Lives Matter, which is going on right now. And we also have all these other groups that are out there. But do we ever find out what really happens? Remember the Wounded Warriors and where their charity donations went? Or who remembers the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge? We're going to find out the truth behind all of these today. Coming up next. Mitchell, and this is To The Point. Welcome to Women Wednesday, and we've got a good one for you today. I say that every day, but again, every day is a great day here on To The Point. Today's guest is Cooper Lawrence, the amazing Cooper Lawrence. If you live in the tri-state areas or you listen to iHeart Radio and you just love awesome people on the radio, Cooper Lawrence, the Cooper Lawrence Show, you can check her out on iHeart if you're in the tri-states. Just click on your radio, find Cooper Lawrence. It's worth it. But Cooper just released a book. We talked about it when she was on our show. Now, her book has a big mouthy title. So, of course, I'm going to look at it because it's a long one, and I tried to remember it, and I got the first part of it. Celebritocracy is the title. Its full title is Celebritocracy, the Misguided Agenda of Celebrity Politics in a Postmodern Democracy. Say that 5 times fast and then do it backwards. There's a reward for you if you do. We'll get you a signed book if you could show us on video you saying that 5 times fast. There's a challenge. We'll get you a signed book from Cooper if you could pull this one off. We want to see you do it. It's a doozy. Anyways, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So examples. Here's one. We all remember Live Aid, right? Multi-venue, worldwide concert, Live Aid. Did you think the 127 million raised went to famine for Ethiopia? Well, Cooper's going to tell us that no, that actually didn't happen. It didn't. Ethiopian dictator with a really long name that we're not even going to attempt to do, just an Ethiopian dictator, turned the check over to the Russians, in exchange for sophisticated weaponry, which he then used to murder thousands of his own people. Holy Toledo Batman. This is what we're going to talk about. We see all the celebs involved in it, but what's the truth behind some of the biggest events in our nation's history when it comes to celebs being involved? Well, we're going to bring Cooper Lawrence on next to tell us more about the dark side of this wonderfulness that we call celebrityhood. Let's get to the point with Cooper Lawrence. And I'd love to welcome to the show my good friend, the wonderful Cooper Lawrence. Welcome to the show, Cooper. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me back. I love seeing you, Eric. This is so fun.
It's awesome. I love having you on. I know when you were here the last time, we were talking about your book was getting ready to be released, and then it came out. And I'm telling you, I don't know if it was done on purpose, but you had some unique timing dropping your book during probably the craziest time in the celebrity world as we could go. I know there's a lot in your book, but I know, let's talk about the big name that is currently, looks like I don't know, he's like a train wreck by himself, but we're not talking about the president on this one. We're talking about the other train wreck. Sorry, I had to clarify train wrecks.
It's a lot of train wrecks right now. You got to keep them all on track.
It's like one big dumpster fire. But talking about Mr. Kanye West. He says he's running for president. He's not running for president. Went to South Carolina 2 weeks ago and made some comments about slavery that kind of had... It's the first video I've ever watched where you could hear people like, we're out of here. We are gone. And you're like, dude, and he just kept going, like, on his own. So let's talk about Mr. West.
he was there trying to convince us why he's running for president, yet he didn't say one thing about like the economy. I don't know how he feels about foreign policy. How does he feel about immigration? I have no idea. He spent the whole time talking about himself and his life, which is why people are saying that the reason why he's on the birthday party is because he's just trying to do publicity, because he has this album that was supposed to drop like 2 weeks ago. It hasn't dropped yet. His fans are really upset. I'm sorry, his fan is really upset because everybody has pretty much stepped away from him at this point. You know, we're all waiting for Donda to drop, and it hasn't. So is this publicity? Is he really serious about running for Congress?
Yeah.
I mean, running for president, sorry.
So let me ask you this, Cooper. Now, some people have said that because we all know for the last 3.5 years, he's been buddy with the great orange clown in the White House. I mean, that's his dude. He wears the MAGA hat proudly. And now he says he's not friends with Trump anymore, which is weird because his wife is always trying to get somebody pardoned at the White House. And good job from Kim. I'm not bashing on Kim and what she's done. Absolutely the cause that she's been able to somehow convince the president to actually do something halfway decent for somebody. That's amazing in its first place. But
don't gloss over that. That's a huge deal because remember, she supported Hillary, you know, so why would Trump want to be helping her, especially with criminal justice reform? I mean, Kim Kardashian doesn't have a dog in that fight. It's not like she's stumping for something that ultimately helps her with her sales of her clothing line or anything. No, this is 100%. This is true altruism. I mean, in my book, I call Kim Kardashian the future of celebrity activism. And this is really why. I mean, she was able to get Donald Trump to pass the Step Up Act or the First Step Act that helps people who just get out of prison take the first step into a better life and not ever go back to prison. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, and it's funny, we're just starting off with the Kanye and the Kardashian family here because there's a lot. So as we go peel this onion back, you have Kim, who I've actually had a change of heart on how I feel about her. I think that she actually does do a lot of good, in my opinion. I mean, obviously, I'm not all in on the celebrity gossip with her, but I think she's doing good. But then her sister had this big claim to fame at the beginning of 2020, which feels like 5 decades ago. But at the beginning of 2020, she became the youngest billionaire ever for whatever she was doing. And then that turns out she wasn't really a billionaire. They made that up. So at the same time as good, you know, everything Kim's doing in one hand looks amazing. And then you have her husband who's on here going off on her mother, her family, and then you have her sister who's like, about that billionaire thing. Just
Kylie,
kidding.
Yeah.
Kylie,
yeah.
Miss Kylie Jenner.
Kylie
Yes.
Jenner. So, you know, there's two schools of thought here. I mean, there's a lot of people that feel, let me take a step back. I know people that work with Kanye in the music industry. I know people at his label and people that have worked with him. The reason why Kanye got into such hot water financially, the reason why he had gone bankrupt, is because the money that he did make, he spent on 2 clothing lines that didn't go anywhere. And then he ended up what he does is when he travels with like a full production team. It's very expensive. Just in case he ever feels inspired. You know, he can wake up in the middle of the night and feel like he wants to write a song or a rap or whatever. So he likes to have, you know, everyone around. That is really expensive. And that is funded by his label. And then he has to pay them back after he makes money. But he hasn't been making the kind of money he's making. So this deal he has with the Gap right now is really helpful. But Kanye is about Kanye. If you think that Kanye really cared about Donald Trump for even a second, you know, I got a bridge in Brooklyn I'm going to sell you. Because I think Kanye's only interested in promoting himself. And he understands that you need to be with the most incendiary people. First it was Kim Kardashian, the sex tape, this love goddess. And you know, he married somebody that is super influential in celebrity culture. Then he ends up being friendly with Donald Trump and wearing the MAGA hat, which I still don't think that Kanye, I don't believe half the things Kanye says. I think Kanye's about Kanye. I think he's about publicizing himself. So let's get one thing straight, you know. This is about him needing to make money again. And he and Kim had really had it out. I mean, when he went bankrupt, he actually wrote songs in his album Ye about her yelling at him for all of this sort of craziness and how it affects the bottom line, how it affects, you know, the dollar. So I think you have to remember that's really at the core of everything he does.
Yeah.
How can he be a billionaire? How can he make money? So I would take everything he does with a grain of salt.
And I agree with you with that. When it comes to Kanye, everything I've seen Kanye do is always like it's overhyped up. We remember back during Katrina, right? It came out against Bush, said, President Bush hates black people. It's like, did you have any factual base behind that? And personally, to me, when I look at this, when it comes to Kanye, I used to feel this way about the Kardashians. Everything was a PR stunt, but they're actually doing social good, or at least Kim is. When I look at Kanye, I see this as actually harming the election by now giving people, and people are weird, they'll vote for Kanye over Biden and Trump just because it's Kanye. I love him because he's in music. So how do we, this is kind of crazy that he's actually getting on ballots in other states.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen. See, you got to go where the research is. The research shows that when a celebrity stumps for a party or asks you to vote for them or somebody else, specifically Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z, do not follow what a celebrity tells them to do. What they do instead is they vote because what they hear is vote. If you tell me who to vote for, I'm going to do the opposite like kids do. So what we're finding in the research is that celebrities are better off just saying vote, not telling people who to vote for. I think it's insulting to think that Kanye's fans are so stupid that they're just going to go vote for him. They understand that he's a celebrity. They know he's not going to win. They know this is an important election, and they know what they want to do, what's right for their futures. So just because Kanye's going to be on the ballot, if he's even on the ballot, look at all those fake signatures he had. So I don't know that he's going to be on too many ballots. Yeah. But maybe like one or two people as a joke will vote for him or write his name in or whatever. But that's every election. Somebody writes in Charlie Brown or Mickey Mouse. So it's just Kanye this time around. But his constituents, they're woke. And they're going to vote for who they think is going to be best for their bottom line and their futures.
I love it. You're the first guest ever to say people are woke. Good job. You win. And all the millennials we have on our show, the great Pavlina Osta is always on our show, and she doesn't say woke. So I love it that you said woke. Yes. So let's talk about your book. Number one, congratulations for releasing it. I hear it's doing terrific. I know we talked about it, and I started.
It was number 22.
Right?
It was number 22 on Amazon last week. I was really excited. Everyone's been so supportive, and I'm so grateful that you're having me on your show to talk about Celebritocracy.
I love the title. Your book is, that's just not the end of the title. Don't forget to add on the misguided agenda of celebrity politics and postmodern democracy. Say that 5 times fast. I've actually challenged the guest earlier before you came on. I challenged our listeners, anybody who can do a video and record it saying it 5 times fast, the full title, we will get them a signed book from you. So that was my talent. I'm paying for it. You're going to sign it, and we're going to get it to them. But they have to do the video so we could use it for social content. We want to see him say it 5 times fast. Full title. No, just the beginning title. Whole thing. That whole amazing. But your book's very interesting. And I know we see a lot of activism. And one of the things that stuck out to me, like right away, of course, I'm a huge music. I just love music. And Queen is one of my all-time greats. Proud to say all of my children love listening to Queen. It's heard in our house about as much as the Beastie Boys, which I'm also very proud of.
That's good parenting right there. There's good parenting.
Beastie Boys and Queen. It's like, and anything from the 80s. My kids, I love my kids are like 80s kids, but Beastie Boys, my boy loves the Beastie Boys, and my wife just is like, you have another person. Now I bob my head even more to my favorite boys, but Queen is big. And what kind of drew my attention is you have a part of your book where you talk about Live Aid from 1985, which at the time was a huge event. If you've watched the Queen movie for millennials and Gen Zs playing at home, Live Aid, huge event, played in multi-venues across the globe. But I think it was just the US and the UK at the time, but still across the globe. And it raised $127 million that was supposed to go to famine in Ethiopia. Also kind of around the same time, and it's funny, when we were just on vacation, poolside, we heard the We Are the World song. Remember that wonderful gem of where you're trying to pick? We got down all the impressions of people when you have Stevie Wonder and Bruce Springsteen singing over each other. It's just fabulous music, fabulous. But that money didn't go to famine. It went to, it went, funny, it went to the Russians. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but went to the Russians, and that bought weapons, and then they killed thousands of people with those weapons. What is going on? That's not what I was told in the Queen movie. I feel like I was deceived.
Well, the Queen movie, I don't think they talked about Live Aid where the money went.
Yeah, no, they didn't. But I'm just kidding. Like that was like it said it was for a good cause, and your book's like, nope. The Russians killed, like they got money from the weapons from the Russians and killed people.
Right, and that moment was iconic. That moment that Freddie Mercury sings that what they call the note heard round the world at the end of Radio Gaga. I mean, it's iconic. You know, so musically, it was a real event, and it's perfect timing because this is the 35th anniversary of Live Aid. But the thing that people don't know is that, you know, so where did that money go? Well, Bob Geldof, he's great at putting concerts together. He's great at being a celebrity. He's great at being in the Boomtown Rats. But the thing he's not great at is research and foreign policy and foreign politics. And he didn't fully understand what was going on in Ethiopia at the time. He also didn't know that the famine he was raising money for was a man-made famine intended to kill tens of millions of people, thousands of people, because at the time there was a civil war going on. But we didn't know about it because there was no social media, so it wasn't like we can easily find it. You literally had to go do research, which is what Bob Guccione Jr. and his sister Nina did. They found all of this research, and they wrote this huge piece about it in Spin magazine. It got picked up, I think, in Rolling Stone. But people didn't want to hear it because they know they had given so much money to this feel-good cause. They didn't want to hear that the money actually, that the leader of Ethiopia, whose name I never remember because it's one of those names, but Megadistu Haile Mariam, I think was his name.
Yeah.
What he ended up doing was, you know, he took that money, he handed over to the Russians, and he bought $127 million worth of weaponry, which he used to then murder his own people, and we funded that. We funded that. We paid for that. We gave that $127 million. So, but that's what this book is about. So you know about Live Aid, but you don't know where the money went. You know all the good things Oprah does, but you don't know about the aftermath. So that's the problem in this culture, is that the minute we see star power behind something, we stop right there. We don't bother to then go research and find out, well, what happened to that cause? Why did George Clooney step away from Darfur? Yeah. You know, did Sting save the rainforest? You know, all of these things we know the beginning, but we don't know the end. So this book, Celebritocracy, gives you the end of those stories. It tells you exactly why George Clooney stepped away from Darfur, where the money really went for Live Aid, and what Robin Wright has to do with the Congo and Dodd-Frank. So there's a lot of stories in here that are out there, but people don't want to hear negative things about their favorite celebrities.
Yeah. I mean, I saw there's something about Brad Pitt also. We're just diving into the book. Actually, we ordered it. I actually ordered a couple copies just because, well.
Thank you.
We're huge fans of yours, so we buy copies and I pass them out to friends and say, hey, this is my buddies, go read it, and they love it. And plus, it's such a hot topic. Now, not covered in your book and covered recently, and I've been tracking it, which I'm gonna say, shout out to BuzzFeed for always having the dirt on anybody who is doing wrong, because trust me, they're good at it. I always want to make sure I'm staying on the good graces of BuzzFeed. Clearly, if you've done anything bad, BuzzFeed will find out about it. But you probably know where I'm going with this. No, I'm not talking about all the bad things Tony Robbins done behind closed doors. No, sorry, BuzzFeed. I had to give you a shout out for that because that's a true story too. But I'm talking about Ellen DeGeneres. That's been another big celeb, right? She's this do-gooder who, I mean, until I read these stories, mad respect for Ellen. I think she's always been I've seen her do stand-up. She is hilarious. In true story, my wife and I walking, this is when we lived in California, we were walking up the street in Carmel, California, and walked right by her and her wife, beautiful Portia, whatever. I can't always say Portia's last name, but you know, Portia de Rossi.
Portia de Rossi.
There we go. I always screw it up. But we walked by and we were like, hi, and they were like so sweet. They waved back. We didn't harass them, but they were just so nice. And like, you know, sometimes celebs will like not acknowledge the world you live on, but they clearly did. So that was pretty cool, but I mean, she's being trashed right now as a hellacious host of a show, and her EPs and writers seem to have caught the bug that goes on over at Fox, it stands like, with sexually harassing, sexually assaulting. I mean, how do you see this ending, and are we seeing this more and more? Because Ellen's not the only one. I mean, you had, in the last 2 weeks alone, Ellen, the Fox anchor that was fired, and then that story came out about all that. Obviously, Bombshell, which came out at the end of 2019, 2020, which is, if you are flying anywhere, you can see it on every airline. It's a great movie. Check it out. But Bombshell, you know, turned out to be pretty accurate.
Yeah.
And then Apple TV, that amazing, I forget, right off the top of my head, I can't think of it, the one with Jennifer Aniston, Steve Carell. Yeah. I mean, these shows and these people, I mean, is this what we're seeing? Is the downfall of big name celebrities having this spotlight and smaller people like John Krasinski, his awesome little YouTube? I mean, John's kind of that feel-good guy. You look at him, you know, married to the wonderful Emily and talented Emily Blunt, his wonderful, and just look at him. He's Jim from The Office, no matter what he does. I know he's been in a lot of stuff, but to me, he's always Jim. Like, even when he's killing terrorists, he's still Jim. So, I mean, where are we going with these celebs in this world?
You know, but his Some Good News, SGN Network, whatever he was calling it, that was his thing. His was all about good news and positive stories. You don't see much of that. That's something that, you know, only a celebrity can do these days. But see, it's not like people are suddenly going after Ellen. It's like they're outing her the same way they finally outed Harvey Weinstein. But here's the thing about it. You know, this is not new information. You know, even Brad Garrett said it. This is one of the oldest things in Hollywood. Everyone has known for a long time about what goes on at the Ellen Show, just the way they knew about what goes on, what Harvey Weinstein was doing. But if somebody's making you a lot of money, you're more willing to turn a blind eye. So we're at a point right now where you better treat your employees well, because the minute this all started, because if you remember, the employees went on furlough and they were told they were going to get paid anyway, and they didn't. And they were wondering where their money was. Yeah. So that turned into a fight that ended up into, you know what, you're going to screw with my money. We're going to finally out all these stories that Hollywood has known about for 10 years or more. So, you know, you got to take this back a step too. This is not just about celebrity culture. This is about how social media has affected celebrity culture. They don't get to have it both ways. There was a time when a celebrity would hire a publicist and they would send an email or a fax, you know, back then, and say, you know, here's where Britney Spears will be today. You know, go find her with your camera. She'll pretend that, oh my God, what are you guys doing here? And that was your only interaction. Now they're all on social media. They're telling us how to live our lives. They're telling us what to buy, who to vote for. Well, if you're now my friend, if you're now all up in my business, I want to know everything about you. So people are now outing celebrities because they're already out there themselves. They're not staying protected. They're offering their opinions on everything. So they are now fair game. They're no longer, like, the shine is off of them. So if this is going on at the Ellen Show, which it seems like it really might be, then good for them for coming forward finally after all these years.
I like that you said that. I mean, and I think it's weird to hear about it because everybody looks at somebody like Ellen, right? During most of COVID-19, she's been on her Instagram handle with the guy standing behind her. I mean, yes, I watch Instagram stories. It's how I get sucked down that rabbit hole. But I mean, to hear this about her, it just, you know, you hate hearing these things, right? Because you're just like, oh, it's a...
But this is the problem. Yeah. Everybody these days has to be either all good or all bad. You know what? There's a whole bunch of gray in between. Yeah. Yes, Ellen gives a lot of money to charity. Yes, Ellen does a lot of things for animal charities. Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that she doesn't turn a blind eye to a hostile work environment or a bullying culture. Do you know what I mean? Both things can be true. Yeah. She can be nice and altruistic on some aspects of her life. She could say hi to you on a hike one day, but then the next day somebody is there's huge amounts of sexual assault and racism going on in her environment, and she's just going on with her show, Who Booked Jennifer Aniston Today. Yeah. So both things can be true.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because now we're in this weird place where celebrity, sports, politics, they're all kind of put in a blender now, where celebs, I mean, celebs have always kind of been there, but now athletes for the first time, you've seen a big time momentum change from kneeling, right? 2 years ago, Colin Kaepernick was the worst human being on the face of the earth to so many. And now you're seeing, which is kind of ironic, and I'm not chuckling because of the cause. I totally love Black Lives Matter. I love that cause. But we had over the weekend 2 NBA athletes stand opposite of kneeling. They were standing for the national anthem. Mind you, both of them told their teammates, talked to other players on other teams, One kneeled. I forget his last name, first name Isaac. Just actually had a season-ending injury 2 nights ago. Thoughts go out to him, man, because he's a great ball player, young ball player, which is making a good comeback. But he stood because of his Christian beliefs, which totally rock on. And then Myers Leonard, who I have a lot of love for. He's from Portland, Oregon, played for the Portland Trail Blazers. Now he's the starting center for the Miami Heat. Not only did he tell his teammates, he went to his former team, the Portland Trail Blazers, talked to the great Carmelo Anthony. Shout out, in New York. Everybody loves Carmelo, as he's a Syracuse boy, and former Knick. Talked to Dame Lillard, who is one of the best point guards in the league, and CJ McCollum, another guy from, Ohio, and went to Lehigh. All these guys are heavily in the Black Lives Matter movement and want equality. In fact, the back of Myers' jersey even says Black Lives Matter. But he stood. He stood because his brother's a United States Marine, and because his cause is he knows veterans come home and suicide takes a lot of our lives. So he's like, wait a minute, if we're all doing this for a movement that we're passionate about, I told my teammates, hey, I totally love what you're doing. I'm wearing my shirt, totally support it, but this is my cause. My brother served. These guys come home. They don't get treated the right way either, And I was like, but he was attacked for it. And it was it's just a weird world we live in where we can't ever have it. You can't have it both ways. And clearly.
No, it's not. You know what? The fact that people have the right to stand, they have the right to kneel, they have the right to stump for whatever organization that they feel strongly about and make the statement they want to make. Last I checked, we were in America and we all had freedom of speech and we can do whatever we want. I think it's not okay. This is the cancel culture coming up again. It's like, if you don't believe what I believe, you're canceled. And it's not even like, let's have a conversation. Why were you standing? Let's hear about your brother and the Marines. And let's talk about your cause, because that's important too. Yeah. It's like we're living in a time now where we can't have conversations with each other. And that's what scares me. And that's a lot of, in my opinion, what Trump has brought us. Mm-hmm. Instead of uniting the country, we've been even more divided to the point where we can't even have a conversation. No. We can't even discuss with each other, why did he stand? No, he's canceled. That's it. Fire him. Get him fired. Yeah. That's not the right response. The right response is to ask the question, doesn't he understand what this is about? Why isn't he? Oh, he has his own. Oh, let me say, what's his cause? Yeah. Maybe open your mind just a little bit. And the fact, even if he didn't have a reason, he has the right to stand, just the way somebody else has the right to kneel. Yeah.
So let's talk about cancel culture. I love that topic. It seems to be hot with some people, and it's a little over the top. People agree. I mean, my pulpit that I'll get on with my soapbox is I think any base named after a loser general and a slave owner should not be named after it. And I know a lot of people in the Armed Services Committee absolutely agree with us, and most of them are veterans and have come out. And I know a lot of vets I've talked to. This belief that we die for our bases is complete and utter BS, because we don't. There's not a time in my life where I'm like, okay, my final words are going to be, I love my mom, I love my wife, I love my country, and I gave it all for my Marine Corps base Hawaii. No, that just doesn't even flow right? Nobody.
It doesn't make any sense, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. So cancel culture, is this, how do we put a stop to it? It's huge. We have celebrities involved giving their 2 cents. Again, and I'm going to say this, and it goes to both. You brought up Trump. I think it's D.C. in general. Granted, a lot of it is the orange one, but D.C. in general. President goes over, flips a Bible upside down that's not even his, and takes a photo up, talking after he just gassed people that were peaceful protesters. And by the way, in case anybody's arguing with us, we have 4 people under oath in front of the Senate that said that they were gassed and they were being peaceful. And that is also the the head of the military, Mr. General Miley, who runs that, and he even came forth and said that. And then you have 2 days later, Pelosi and the gang, they do that choreographed kneeling in that atrium with the, the African flag colors around, the scarves around your neck, and you're like, you're doing photo ops, both of you. One doesn't,
Right, it's no different. Yeah.
And so a lot of it is coming out of D.C., right? Parties, or do you think a lot of this is election 2020? Granted, 2020 is bad. We've been like 5 decades in like 4 months. This is the longest March I've ever been in, which is normally great. My wedding anniversary is March 20th, which would make March a great time.
That's right.
But we're still in March and it's August. We're still doing the same thing, but is it worse? Do you think cancel culture and all this craziness is accentuated because it's an election year? And every year...
Cancel culture has always existed, and people have been canceled for stupid things all the time. It's 100% social media. Because think about how cancel culture gets started. You know, somebody decides that something somebody said or tweeted or stands for offends them, and it offends a group of people, it offends enough people. I mean, look, I'm not talking about people that are racist or homophobic or anti-Semites. They deserve to be canceled because they do not deserve our attention or our money. I'm talking about the people who misspoke or meant to say something, or maybe were given misinformation, you know, people that truly do not deserve to be quote unquote canceled. But it all happens on social media. I didn't know I was supposed to hate fill in the blank. But then I go on Twitter or I go on Instagram and suddenly I learn that, you know, somebody is being canceled and here's why. Yeah. And then you show the video. And it's like everything they've ever done prior is just completely irrelevant now. And even if they were the greatest person in the world, I mean, Ellen DeGeneres is actually a really good example. If it turns out that everything going on under her watch is happening, she should get canceled. That's the right person to get canceled. But, you know, somebody who tweeted something stupid one day and then went, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I think they deserve a second chance, but it's too late, because once cancel culture gets ahead of you and a hold of you and it's all over social media, you're done. You're just done. There's no mea culpa. There's no coming back.
So let me ask you this. So you bring that up, and one of the famous ones I think of, and I just because I'm a huge The Rock fan, and that means if you like Dwayne Johnson, that means you obviously are very well aware of the wonderful Kevin Hart, who I think is hilarious. But Kevin, as we all remember, was given the Oscars. He's covered it on his Netflix documentary, which was great. But there's a guy who's been given a second chance. I mean, Kevin, he made a comment, which, hey, I'm sure I have tweets from a long, long time ago that I probably would be like, wow, did I say that? Usually it's about sports, so I'm not too ashamed of anything. I will stand on the notion I think the Red Sox suck, and I've posted that publicly for years. So I don't feel bad about that. But when it comes to folks like Kevin Hart, he's been given a second chance. He's still picking up things, but he lost the Oscars. Now, I don't know if that's a big, I mean, people think that's a big deal. To me, I don't watch the Oscars. I mean, unless we could get Ricky Gervais to permanently be the host of the Golden Globes and that. I love what Ricky does. But Kevin got a second chance. So do you think Ellen will never get a second chance? Is this like, if this comes out to be true, she's done? I mean, is that what you see happening to her?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, because Kevin Hart is a really good example of how cancel culture got a hold of him, and now suddenly, like, he got labeled. He's a homophobe. Well, is he really? I mean, he apologized, and he's slowly working his way back in. You know, he's still doing commercials. He's still doing movies. He's still doing television. Like, Hollywood has not stepped away from him completely, because they understand that it was just, he just said something stupid. It was one thing, and we are forgiving. You know, we can be forgiving if the person was likable to begin with. But I think Ellen's a little bit different, because I think a lot of, from what I've heard and from what I've read, I think a lot of people feel betrayed by Ellen. They feel like she was stumping for them. She was really about their cause, and now suddenly she's just about being rich and famous and a celebrity, and is no longer in touch with us. So it doesn't surprise us that there's an us and a them at her place of work as well. You know, even just recently, her comment when she was in her $27 million house and said she feels like she's in jail. Like, this is so hard, this pandemic, it feels like I'm in jail. Really? I'd like to be in that jail, that $27 million jail. But that wasn't enough to get her canceled. That was just the first thing that people went, huh. So you know, Kevin Hart had one, huh, and then nothing again. Right. But with Ellen, it's one after another, and you're starting to think, you know what, this is actually painting a picture of who she really is. I mean, same thing happened with Rosie O'Donnell. Yeah. You know, Rosie O'Donnell was the most loved person. She was the queen of nice. And then we started hearing stories about her, what was really going on backstage, and then we met Rosie O'Donnell. Yeah. You know, but then she was smart. She used it to her advantage. She got on The View, and she was like, you know what, I'm not going to lie anymore. This is who I am. And I respect her for that. I respect her for being her genuine self and not pretending to be like, puppies and kittens, oh my, you know?
And I agree with you on that. I think that's a lot of what goes on. And that's, if you come forward and you admit, hey, I did this, and this is, and you show your true colors, like, hey, I'm a jerk. I mean, I tell people that all the time. I'm a jerk. I know it. I'm outspoken. I believe my point is right. If I'm going to say it, then I'm correct. I'm the first person that's admit it. And I've already come forward and said, yep, 3 years ago, I bashed on Colin Kaepernick for kneeling. I thought I didn't understand what he was doing. But I've done the research. I've read books. I've educated myself. And I keep telling people, like your book, I've lived in this bubble that all these people are great. And George Clooney, he's so good. I mean, I love him in Ocean's 11. He's great. Oprah. Right. Who doesn't like Oprah? Robin Wright Penn, or she's just Robin Wright now. But Robin Wright, I mean, she's Ginny from Forrest Gump. She would never get people killed. Brad Pitt, everybody loves Brad Pitt. But then we dive into your book and you're like, it's not all, sunshine and rainbows and bubblegum. A lot of bad things. So here's my question. And I don't want to give away too much of your book. So you can say, Eric, stop, make people buy my book and find out. But sorry, I have to say that. It's like spoiling a TV show. I spoiled one the other day, and I was like, look, that show's been off the air for like 4 years.
Exactly, yeah. If you don't know what happened at the end of Breaking Bad by now.
Yeah, like Ballers. I was talking about, if you've watched Ballers, you know Dwight Johnson's character in Ballers was trying to buy an NFL team. He was part of the team. He did not buy it by himself. I wish the media would say that clearly. He was part of a group, spent $15 million, which isn't a lot of money for these guys, and they bought the XFL. But when you look at what is going on, how do these folks, do they know? Are they willing participants and they know this bad? Because when I look at it, I cringe when I see Oprah, who I've always looked at. I mean, I've worked with folks who have been honored by Oprah. I know how, to me, she appears very genuine. I'm not bashing on O at all. It's kind of like how people bash on Beyonce. I know better than to go after the Queen because I'm more afraid of her fans than the Queen herself. Speaking of which, before we go to the rest of my question, did you see this guy in Florida that's running for Congress? He said Beyonce's really an Italian woman.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Ridiculous. What a ridiculous, crazy person.
I'm like, whoa, dude. You need to...
That says everything about him. I mean, he's nuts. That's the way people tell you. They don't want to come out and say, listen, I'm crazy. So instead they say, Beyonce's really an Italian woman. Okay.
Name Alicia. Yeah. I'm like, no, nope, she's not. Trust me. And I'm like, and you better be careful because her husband, I don't know which one of the two of them would kick your teeth in, but I would go, I don't know, both of them, don't forget where they came from. They're both pretty tough. I mean.
Get on their bad side.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to. But I mean, do you think that these folks know what's going on? Oprah, Brad Pitt, just to kind of, I want people to go read the book, but so let's not deep dive on too many of the stories I'm talking about, but do you think they will know? Is this something like they're like, or is it a great deal? Or are they not even involved? Their name just goes on it.
No, of course they know. No, and in fact, I know that they know because I know what the aftermath is. I know what ended up happening. So, yeah, they do know, but they don't publicize that part of them. And the one thing that Celebritocracy has in it that I think is a really important message is what I said earlier about Ellen, is that celebrities, the shine that celebrities have on them, the fact that they all seem like they're so perfect and beautiful, they are, but they're also flawed and they're human and they do stupid things and they sign stupid contracts and they make promises they can't keep and they just do everything that every other human does. And the fact that we hold celebrities to a different standard. My favorite example, my most recent example is COVID. Okay? All of these people were getting COVID in Washington State and dying. And people were like, oh, really? Okay, whatever. What? Tom Hanks has it? The minute we found out Tom Hanks had COVID, suddenly people were like, whoa, COVID's a thing. It's like, it's been a thing. Just because Tom Hanks had it or has it doesn't mean that it was never a thing before. So we have to stop looking at celebrities like they're perfect or that they know more than we do or that they're somehow experts in anything. They're just celebrities. They're just famous people. They have a lot of money. They don't have any more access than anyone else does. You think they do, but they don't. And they just... they're flawed. They're not perfect. So even your favorite celebrity that you love so much, when I think about, I really love Kate Winslet. Mm-hmm. I know that she's flawed. I know that she has problems. I know she's been divorced a bunch of times, so she must be kind of a nightmare on some level. But for the most part, I like her. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's important to see celebrities as human.
Oh, yeah. And I totally agree with you. I think one of the ones that does it best on air and off is Joe Rogan. I think Rogan doesn't hide anything about himself, but he's always been that way. If you remember him on that radio show that he did with the late, great Phil Hartman, I mean...
You mean News Radio, the greatest sitcom on television ever? You're talking about?
Yes.
Please.
The greatest.
News Radio. Oh, yeah. Look, I'm in radio.
Yeah.
It's my favorite show ever. It's my favorite thing.
That was my first ever Rogan experience, and I thought he was hilarious then. I mean, I like his humor. I agree with him on almost everything he talks about, cannabis and all that things. I'm very pro.
Right.
But Joe, to me, I always tell people, if you look at him, and I'll name them here. I look at folks like Lewis Howes and Rogan, who both are very public about how they came up, and you see their work. And I love Lewis Howes, who's a huge name. Lewis shows pictures of himself like 10 years ago as some scrawny, like not making it kid who's like, if you would have told me 10 years from now, I would be where I'm sitting. And I think a lot of people don't do that because these celebs forget where they come from. And it's weird to see because so many people are like, well, so-and-so. And it's so funny you brought up Tom Hanks because that was what my wife and I laughed at. Because we live here in what was, a long time ago, the epicenter of this disease, or yeah, this virus, is just an hour and a half north. We have friends that actually live right down the street from the epicenter where it started.
Wow.
And, oh, Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson have it. Oh my God. Are we going to be okay?
Right.
But
it's true. That's exactly what happened.
I mean, will it get worse as we get to the election? Do you think, celebs are going to come out and start endorsing people? It's already started. I mean, it's crazy the way that people are picking sides, and it like means everything to them. I mean, personally to me, and I'm going to ask you this and then we can wrap, but I've never seen a president have fanboys. And I call anybody who acts like an athlete is like the great Michael Jordan. I would probably make noises if Michael Jordan was next to me. I'm a huge MJ fan. Same goes for like a lot of other, I don't know, Jennifer Aniston was next to me. I think she's an amazing actress, and I've always, and Christina Applegate too, but I was raised watching Married with Children, and it's Christina Applegate, folks. So, they come around, but people are really protective of a president. Mind you, he's gone, whether it's he gets, hopefully, knock on any sort of wood that doesn't happen, but he's either gone in November or he's gone 4 years after that. No matter what, there's an end date.
Right, there is an end date, yeah.
But you can't treat, who gets excited about presidents? I mean, I get excited when I see Obama only because it's nice to see a president with a larger than 100-word vocabulary. That's the only thing it's like, he knows how to speak to me and doesn't need to tell me, like, condescending and tell me about his ratings.
Right.
I mean, do you think this is what we're going to expect in elections moving forward? I mean, the celebrity side we've always had. I've always seen, I remember growing up with it, but is it now going to be more than ever because we have social and these athletes are going to be able, not just athletes, celebs, and now influencers, right? That's a whole nother level, is you've got these folks who are making millions. Like, I never knew who Logan Paul was, and now he's like a household name.
Yeah.
And he makes millions. I mean, he makes more than some, like, B-level celebs that start on The Office. I mean, it's crazy. Right. So is this kind of the next place we're going? I mean, I know you have your book, but I mean, and your book uncovers some stuff where it's been going on for years. This isn't new. It's just social media has bubbled it to the surface.
Right.
I mean, is this the new normal? Is everything going to be influencer and celebrity based?
Well, yes and no. I mean, we have to go to the research. So the research shows that celebrities that come and stump for a candidate doesn't really help that candidate. It helps. Sorry, let me explain better. So when a celebrity stumps for a candidate, it softens the candidate's image. That's all it does. That's it. It doesn't cause people to vote for that candidate. It just helps the candidate's image, period. The research shows that the younger you are, the less likely you are to listen to a celebrity as to who to vote for. So the message is vote, but they're not going to tell you who to vote for. Like, even if they tell you, you're not going to necessarily listen to them. Yeah. That's the reason. I mean, the best example is like Hillary had all this star power behind her. It didn't help her because Donald Trump is his own celebrity. He doesn't need stars around him. He is the star. He is the celebrity. And I think that's what we're seeing more and more is where you get the politicians, because of Twitter and social media and everywhere else, they're becoming the celebrities. Yeah. Themselves. Obama has become kind of a celebrity the same way Trump is. So they don't need celebrities to stump for them. They are their own star now.
I love that. And I agree. I think for the first time ever, we're seeing like it backfire because social media is there. And you talk about President Trump.
Right.
He says some things that people are like, not true. I mean, and you saw it from his own party when he made that now infamous tweet that oh, the election, we might need to delay it. And I mean, even his own party, even McConnell, the old, you know, not Klansman, that wasn't nice, Eric. That old guy, sorry, I was wrong. Wow, did I say that out loud? I should probably, no, just kidding. It's my show, I can say what I want. But, you know, he came out and said, no, we're holding an election. And I think that's important for people to know that there is a point of crazy that we reach, you know, that line that there's a certain amount of crazy that Americans are like, now you're going to mess with something sacred to us, and we don't have any evidence behind it. And I agree with you. I don't think how other people vote. I mean, I have my own opinion on at mail-in ballots, and I'll confess my sins. I have been a absentee voter. Is that balloter? That's a new word. A absentee voter for years, probably decades. I love voting that way because I can vote from home. I'm lazy. I want to vote in my basketball shorts and research and do my stuff. So for me, my dog in this isn't political. It's like, that's how I've always done it, and I'm not cheating.
If you're in the military, you don't have much of a choice. I mean, most people in the military have voted by absentee ballot because they're sent here, sent there. They're not home, and they want to still be able to vote. So it's the fact that this is even an argument is just ridiculous.
Yeah, but I mean, it's celebrities are getting involved in it. I see them, Cooper. They're making their 2 cents, and to me, it's like, don't get involved with it. Stay in your lane. Like, I like seeing Brad. Yeah.
See, now you're making a really good point. Not that you didn't make a million good points this entire time. I'll tell you why that's a very good point. Because people that don't know enough about something are gonna hear it for the first time from their favorite celebrity and say, oh, this must be the case because Seth Rogen said it, or Seth, you know, whichever Seth you like. You know, Seth MacFarlane said it.
I like both of those Seths.
And I think back to when Tom Cruise went on the Today Show and talked about that psychiatry was a bunch of malarkey, a bunch of garbage. Yeah. And people that didn't realize that there was even a conversation, like, was there a debate about psychiatry? People that had never heard of postpartum depression. There he was saying it wasn't a thing, it didn't exist. So his fans were like, wow, I never heard about this before. Tom Cruise is bringing awareness to this fallacy of postpartum depression that I never knew about. That's the danger. You get a celebrity saying something that people have never heard before, and people think the celebrity knows what they're talking about, and they usually do not.
Yeah. That's a good point. You bring up a lot, and I'll close with this. And it triggered when you talked about people, and I don't want to say weak-minded. That's not fair. But learning about the 2016 election and how both parties targeted folks using social media ads and how the ad targeting was based. They freely admit I watched the documentaries, Cambridge Institute, the Cambridge Analytics folks that are no longer in place.
Right.
Their targets were weak-minded people that were influenced by social because they could see what you follow, what you share. Clearly you're influenced. And they went after him.
Right.
And people don't pay attention to that. And I've told everybody, and I forget the name of it. It's on Netflix. It's amazing. Go check it out if you're binge watching at home and you need something. It's an amazing documentary that'll wake your head up. That don't be one of those people who's influenced by clickbait or what, you know.
It's not weak-minded. It's the fact that we have cognitive reserves in our brain. We can only handle a certain amount of information, a certain amount of chunks of information. So when we're overloaded with information, we can't be held responsible for the few bits of information that didn't adhere. It's just not how our brains work. We just can't take in that much information. So if you're somebody that consumes a lot of social media and consumes a lot of just everything around you, plus you have your own life going on, you know, we're cognitive misers is what we are. So it's not that people are weak-minded. It's just that they can't be expected to know everything. Yeah. So, you know, the analytics did a really good job at targeting people that were just had too much going on. You know, it's actually not that hard with social media.
Well, I want to thank you because we've done a lot. We could probably talk for hours, and I'm sure the listeners are like going, oh my God, these two are just everywhere. But before we go, I want to tell everybody we're putting the links in our show so you can go grab it, but make sure to go grab your amazing new book that we shared on our social. So but we're going to put it in everything. So if you're watching on YouTube, just scroll down in there. You can follow Cooper on all of her social media handles, but we have the link to Amazon, but you can also go to wherever books are sold. So Amazon and Barnes & Noble, as far as I know, are the only online books. Sorry, anybody else who's not those two people.
That's right.
I only know those two because we're members to both and we buy books from both. But you have your amazing new book, and we're excited. So tell everybody, go out and Celebritocracy.
See?
That's the
Yes.
hardest part. And it's the misguided agenda of celebrity politics in a postmodern democracy. Came out just last week. Go grab yourself a copy. And again, if you can do a video 5 times fast, and I'm talking fast, 5 times, you could say the full title of Cooper's book. Number 1, we'll send you a signed copy from Cooper, not me, because me signing it would make sense, but Cooper will sign a copy and send it to you. So send those videos to us, and we'll get them over to Cooper, and she could pick the winner. We'll put the pressure on Cooper for that, and we'll get the book out to you. But
see those videos, they sound hilarious.
Right? It'll be great. So we want to thank you for coming on. We'll have to have you back on again next month to talk about all the craziness that's going on. And if we get any breaking celebrity stuff, we're going to put you on just so we can always talk about it. So thank you for joining us today. And folks, we'll be right back after these messages. Thank you for watching today's show. As always, if you'd like to be a guest or you know somebody that we should have on our show as a guest, feel free to email us at hello@tothepointtv.com. We look forward to hearing from you. And you can also email us if you have a complaint, want to give us kudos, high fives, or if you have an additional question for a guest. Feel free to email us again at hello@tothepointtv.com. Our Twitter is up and running, and it's for social good. Not yelling and screaming political or anything else crazy on our Twitter. So follow us on Twitter at @ToThePointTV, and we'll tweet back at you. And as always, we want you to check out our IG. We love Instagram. Our Instagram stories are up, they're buzzing, and they're meant for you. We love our fans and followers, and we want you to know who our guests are coming on, and we want you to engage with us, and we want to engage with you. So make sure you're following us at Instagram at @ToThePointTV. Now, we love you on Facebook, and we want to make sure, because you're probably watching this on Facebook, like, why would you already follow us? But tell a friend that they can come follow our show and never miss a live episode. As you know, here on Facebook, make sure you head, if you're not on Facebook watching this, then it's different, but our Facebook is To The Point with Eric Mitchell. So make sure you follow us there so you always get notified when our show goes live at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Now, for the folks over on YouTube. Now, YouTube, we love our YouTube, and our channel is growing, and we love you there. Now, if you missed the live show at 12 p.m. Eastern, you can catch the premiere, which is re-recorded. The premiere on YouTube goes down every day at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and simply just go do that. So remember, with YouTube, what we want you to do is smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and flick that bell. That's right, hit the bell. Give that bell some bell love, and that way you know when we're on air and you can catch our latest episode. Check out our playlist. All of them broken down by the day and guest and show, so you can always stay up to date. Once again, on behalf of the entire team here at To The Point, we want to thank you for, again, tuning in and watching our show, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow on To The Point. As always, I am your host, Eric Mitchell. Be safe, be strong, be smart, and God bless America.
Let's get to the point with Eric Mitchell. Let's get to the point. Sit and enjoy. This is Eric Mitchell. He the host of the show. Get to the point. He is the voice. We needed this, something more. This is a daily show that's known for politics and the sports. Ain't no limit to whoever you may see at this point. To celebrities, Eric he's beast in the joint. As a veteran, put him at ease, then anoint. Every conversation can never be disappointed. Whether tragic or it's happy, Eric will cover whatever's happening. Whether it be your gymnast, toe tapping, talking about nearly any athlete, not taking a back seat. You're never gonna get it past T. Everybody running from it, it's a stampede. But he's on it like this man who took that knee. Mr. Mitchell's way too